Move on. Let's invite our Patamona friend. Kemal Robinson is a Patamona youth from the North Pakaraimas, Region 8. The 26-year-old has extensive experience in mapping and monitoring, and environmental monitoring, I should say, of the indigenous territories of Region 8. Kemal is currently the mapping and monitoring coordinator for the North Pakarima District Council. He's also the national youth representative of the APA and has represented his people at international forums, including Climate Week 2023 and the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, UNFPII. He will speak about the impact of climate change on indigenous peoples in the North Pakaraimas. I give you Kemal Robinson.
Hey, thank you, Graham. I feel very special sitting here with the introduction that was given. So, Patamona udah, English beda kusen nagazade itakomba, Ina Maimu Yetatokon. So I just said I am Patamona, but I will try to give you an English version of my Patamona message. So tonight, I'm here to talk about climate change and its impacts, which is not just an indigenous issue, but it's a environmental crisis that affect everyone, that affect all the human race and non-human race as well. So with that, I want to give you a short story, something similar to Kapong. We also call ourselves Kapong, meaning people of the sky, since we live in the peaks of the Pakaraimas. So Kak is really sky, Pong is you're up there. So just as Kapong mentioned, my grandparents used to take me on camping trips. We would go hunt, we would go fish, we would go enjoy the beauty of the forest. And these were planned in advance, looking at the weather patterns. And as Jacinta mentioned, by looking at the moon, you would know how long it's going to be sunny. By looking at the sun, it's the other way you will know how and when the rains would come. And these were trips I think we as indigenous youths and the youths coming up are missing out on big time, because now the weather patterns are next to impossible when it comes to a prediction. So that's one of the impact that you see right there, and it's a daily on daily basis you see different impacts, not only in the indigenous territories but out here on the coastland in the cities. People are being impacted negatively. One of the things that I think is mostly affected, however, is farming, since it has a lot to do with the weather patterns. And especially in the North Pakaraimas where we live, sometimes it rain and it rain too much. You have flooding. Sometimes it's sunny and it's too much again. The plants would dry out, the creeks, the water sources would dry out, leaving us to dry weather basically. So additionally, the on a daily day basis, like I said, we observe changes in weather patterns, and this has caused a lot of our territories to go under negative impacts. I mentioned a few: flooding, droughts, and there's so many more. The list goes on, and this comes back to affecting our lands, our resources, our livelihoods. And brought up a very important point there. But when I am asked why do we want so much of land, my question is to have every one of you alive here today, because we are the protectors of these lands. As our indigenous peoples, we believe in a strong connection to our lands. It's very sacred to us. It's our supermarket, it's our home, and we see it as our mother. We take care of it, in turn, it takes care of us. That's how we view land on a general platform. And our lands being affected affect us generally. So, as indigenous people, I believe strongly that we we need to have respect for not only the indigenous peoples, not only the non-indigenous peoples, but also to land in general. So some of the additional impacts that we have include our food security. So the changes in weather patterns are uh, it gives the the food or agriculture department of the territory a very hard time, because now the food that we depend on can't grow in the seasons that we used to plant, and by that we rely on other types of food. We depend on rice, which we never used to depend on. We depend on sugar, and these come from the coastland, and it's getting very expensive. So, by our lands being affected, we are in turn looking at alternatives, which at most times affect us, since we are not used to living that sort of lifestyle. We also have health issues. As I can recall, sometime last year, we had a very bad experience where 90% of the country, or if I'm correct, 100% of the country was under smoke, covered in smoke. And with this, you had a lot of uh, issues like the respiratory problems and mental health changes because of the weather pattern. And this, we think, is it's something that we need to look into, not only for indigenous peoples, but uh, for the general public. And we also have a loss in culture. Jacinta mentioned there, Rupununi is known for a great or a strong cultural heritage, craftsmanship. But with climate change, all of this is eroding slowly and in certain areas quickly. Um, and we also have a loss in our traditional knowledge. Our environmental changes are affecting us deeply. With this, I would like to touch on Indigenous consultation and contribution towards mechanisms and uh, meaningful action when it comes to addressing climate change. At most times, we are left out of the big table. So there is something called the big table, which I think only I might use. So where all the policies are made. When it comes to addressing policies, creating policies, we are left out of that until it's in the last process of finalizing. Then we are consulted on if whether it's something that we see benefiting us or not. But I think this is an approach that I personally don't see right. We need to be part of every step climbing, because it's not only the policymakers that are being affected. They need to come to the ground to see and speak directly with us. Um, I said earlier, I am trying to give a message here in English, which in Patamona would be stronger. And our elders can't really relate themselves properly when it comes to speaking English, but listening to them in Patamona on the ground there, you will have a stronger connection, a stronger, uh, some stronger message to put into these policies when it comes to creation of these policies. So with that, I want to also say most policies are prioritized on industries where economic interest is looked over, and the environmental protection is something that they don't look at. They only look economically. So they look at like mining, for example. I see Guyana now becoming one of the targets in large scale mining. What are some of these the impacts with these sort of industries or interests over indigenous territories, and on the general public? Climate change, how is it going to contribute towards climate change? Is there a way, or are there ways that we would mitigate climate change by introducing large scale mining um, within our territories? So with that, we believe that it is important to integrate indigenous knowledge into climate change solutions. We need to collaborate with genuine respect and equitable partnership between responsible stakeholders and Indigenous peoples. I'm confident that immediate and significant action needs to be put in place to address climate change and its impacts. Our policies need to be developed to focus on the rights and needs of Indigenous peoples, since we play a vital role in protecting our territories, our lands. It is important to support Indigenous-led initiative and collective decision-making, sorry. So I speak here seeing that we have the international uh, people or the bigger ones, as we call them. So I think we need to look at Indigenous-led initiatives here. At most times, we focus through third parties or second parties if there are. But I think we need to engage directly with the community, with the territories. That's where the true story is. So we need to start developing mechanisms where we can support indigenous-led initiatives when it comes to solutions of climate change. Um, so I want to say something here. At most times, they say young people are the future or we are for tomorrow. But I believe that that saying need to change to say we are today. Young people are here today, and we need to be part of making decisions when it comes to policies and strategies coming into not only climate change, but everything that evolves around us. And with that, I will ask everyone here tonight to become an advocate for climate justice and support indigenous territories and people, because it's not only from a big table where solutions can be made and met, but you need to engage directly with the indigenous people and their territories. Thank you, Kuru.